Scientists here have developed sophisticated equipment capable of measuring the body's response to experiments simulating every type of climate in the world. Statistically, most hypothermic fatalities occur in a temperature range from -6 to +6 degrees Celsius, because it's at that temperature range that we most commonly encounter wind, cold and wet, a lethal combination. Now, hikers today have a good understanding of hypothermia, but many still get into trouble because it's very easy to underestimate just how quickly things can get out of hand. To show you that, I'm going to put Danny, my guinea pig here, into a cold chamber where we can simulate those exact conditions. Good luck.
Okay, Danny, we'll do an initial test, 15 seconds duration, and I'm going to ask you to open and close your hands as fast as possible during that period of time. Okay? At the signal, 3, 2, 1, start. Okay, that's the end.
We're simulating a wind speed of 10 miles per hour.
Okay, Danny, we'll start the test now. Get ready.
It's 8 degrees centigrade, and now it's raining.
Let's go.
What we are trying to simulate here is a worst-case scenario and precipitate the reactions to cold. Because when you're in the field, you may develop hypothermia in several hours. Of course, we don't want to impose that kind of pain on our subjects. So that's the reason they are in shorts and t-shirts. But the reactions, physiological reactions, will be the same, except that they will be more condensed, more short in time. If you have clothing that cannot maintain its insulation because it's getting wet or because the wind goes through, you will see the same kind of reaction as Danny is showing now.
When you get cold, your body's response is to shiver, which raises your core temperature. However, after just half an hour in these conditions, shivering isn't enough. Danny's core temperature is dropping and is beginning to show signs of hypothermia.
You lose interest in what you're doing, you lose coordination in your speech, and then it will become worse and worse as you progress into the hypothermia. At first you're going to shiver, down to about 32. At that temperature, shivering intensity will decrease and will eventually stop when you reach about 30. Then it becomes dangerous. You will be in and out of being conscious. Eventually you'll lose consciousness completely.
After an hour and a half in the chamber, Danny's really beginning to suffer.
Since water conducts heat 27 times faster than air, I think the greatest threat in the wilderness is being wet. So if you want to get prepared, I think you have to find proper rain gear.
We've been monitoring Danny's condition very carefully. His core temperature is now down to 35, so for safety we're going to stop the experiment. Before we started, we asked him to open and close his hand as many times as he could in 15 seconds, and he could do that 51 times. I'm going to test that ability now. Danny, can you open and close your hand for me? Okay, 3, 2, 1. You can see the difference. He's having trouble doing that. He may only manage 10. And that difference can be critical to your life. Now he's in a condition where he might not even be able to open a rucksack to put on warm clothing or even light a stove.
Rewarming a hypothermia victim in the wilderness is extremely difficult. That's why I can't overemphasize the importance of learning to recognize the symptoms early on. The hypothermia experiment is a powerful demonstration of what can go wrong if you're not equipped with the right clothes, shelter, means to light a fire and food. One of the difficulties of surviving in the subarctic forest is the lack of sustaining plant foods. Historically, the people who've inhabited these regions have had to rely on meat, caught either by hunting or trapping. This is going to be a squirrel trap. It's a last resort, but if you travel deep into the wilderness like this, you should know how to feed yourself. The split log is going to form the bottom and the top of a trap which kills by crushing. To hold it open, I've made a trigger out of 3 sticks. 2 of them form a hinged upright support. And they go in there like that. And the last stick is the very fine trigger that holds that in the locked position. And it's on there that I put the bait. At this time of year, red squirrels are drying mushrooms in the branches of trees prior to storing them for the winter. So I've taken one of their mushrooms and put it on the trigger of the trap. I've also put the trap itself up in the branches of the trees because red squirrels don't like to spend much time on the ground. When the squirrel comes along to move that mushroom, he'll dislodge the trigger stick and crunch. There's your meal. There are lots of wild fungi to be found in the forest at the moment. They can be really useful, improving the flavour of other wild foods. But if you eat a poisonous one, you give yourself 0 chances of survival. So if you're going to play with these, make sure you get proper training. Whenever you find little lakes like this, they're real oases in the wilderness. Not only is there drinking water, but there's also a very good chance of getting a feed. Lakes like this are absolutely full of fish. A very good way of catching them is by hobo fishing. What you do is take an old tin can, wrap some line around it, and on the end attach a lure. Then you throw that out and the tin acts as a reel. Got one. Come here. Come. It's a little brook trout. Perfect. Down and put the line. There we go, perfect. A little brook trout. Now he may not be very big, but that's as big as they get in this pond. You get a few of those and you've got a very good meal. That's survival fishing. Fantastic. This is alpine sweet vetch. It's one of the plants that the bears are digging up at the moment as they strive to put on fat for the winter. It's also a food that we can use. There we go, there's the root. It may not look very appetizing, but once that's boiled up, it's fine to eat. More importantly, of course, there's carbohydrate in it. Easy to spot thanks to their flower head. Cattails have been described as the supermarket of the wilderness. The root is loaded with carbohydrate. In fact, you can get carbohydrate from the white parts of this plant in any season of the year, and it's very tasty. Old man's beard lichen festoons the trees in the Rockies, and it's a very dependable material for instantly starting a fire. These survival firelighters, which create showers of sparks, are one of the most versatile pieces of equipment you can carry in this environment. With relative ease, I've managed to gather the ingredients for a very nutritious meal. The fish give me protein and can be cooked whole. The boleti mushrooms taste best if you dry them out first, and the best bit of cattails is at the base of the root. It can be eaten raw, but tastes much better when it's boiled with other ingredients. Because I'm not blessed with the luxury of flour, I use the pith from rosebay willow herb
to thicken my broth.